Welcome, brave souls, to a realm where the line between the living and the dead blurs, a world where folklore and fear intertwine. Tonight, we journey to the Philippines, a land rich with ancient traditions and spirits that dwell just out of sight. In these three chilling tales, you'll encounter unseen forces, some vengeful, others mischievous, and some that simply cannot let go of this world. From the dense forests guarded by the mysterious Duwende, to the shadowy halls of a call center haunted by a boy in blue, and the cold, sterile walls of an operating room where spirits refuse to rest. Prepare yourselves for a descent into the unknown, where every shadow hides a story and every whisper carries a warning. This is not a place for the faint of heart. Welcome to Warrior Horror, where the spirits are watching and escape is never guaranteed.
The legends of the Philippines are woven deeply into our lives, whispered by elders and passed from one generation to the next. They tell of unseen spirits, guardians of nature, who demand respect and vengeance from those who trespass upon their domain. As a child, I had heard these stories countless times, but I never truly understood their weight until that summer, when I was 7. It was the year my father decided we should visit my aunt, who lived in a remote province. Her home was a world away from the bustling streets of Manila, surrounded by dense forests, mountains cloaked in mist, and ancient trees that seemed to touch the heavens. To a child, it was a magical playground. To the locals, it was the dwelling place of the Duwende. My cousins and I spent our days in the wild, playing hide and seek, daring each other to venture deeper into the woods. One fateful afternoon, I decided to hide where no one would find me. My eyes were drawn to an enormous tree, its gnarled roots twisting like the claws of some ancient beast. At its base was a hollow, dark and inviting. It beckoned me like a secret waiting to be uncovered. Without thinking, I squeezed myself into the hollow, its cool, damp interior pressing against me. I had forgotten the warnings drilled into us by our elders. Always ask permission, always say tabi tabi po. The silence inside the tree was deafening, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves overhead. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. When I finally crawled out, triumphant that no one had found me, my cousins stared at me with pale faces. They claimed they had searched everywhere, calling my name. Yet to them, I had simply vanished and couldn't be found for 3 days. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a fever gripped me. My body burned, yet I shivered uncontrollably. My stomach churned violently, forcing me to the bathroom repeatedly. Then came the hallucinations, or so my family thought. I would laugh hysterically, then sob as if my heart were breaking. I spoke to invisible figures, my eyes locked on something, or someone they couldn't see. 3 days passed, each one more horrifying than the last. My father, desperate and afraid, brought me to a local healer, an albulario. The healer's home smelled of herbs and smoke, and her voice carried an otherworldly authority. She performed a ritual, lighting candles and dripping wax into a bowl of water mixed with sacred oils. As the wax hardened, it formed an image, the massive tree, its hollow and tiny figures surrounding a child. The figures were grotesque, their faces twisted in malevolent glee. "You have angered the Duwende," the healer said, her voice grave. "They do not forgive easily. You must make amends." My father carried me back to the tree that same day. My aunt followed, clutching baskets of fruit as offerings. They whispered apologies to the spirits, begging for their mercy. I was barely conscious, but I remember the sound of the wind, how it seemed to whisper back. The next morning I woke in my bed, my fever gone, my mind clear, but the memory of the tree and its silent, vengeful inhabitants still haunts me.
Night shifts are a peculiar beast. They stretch endlessly, the world outside cloaked in darkness, while silence amplifies every creak, every shadow. I worked in a call center in Manila, where the graveyard shift was part of life. But nothing prepared me for the other kind of graveyard shift I would encounter. It began innocently enough. During my 3 a.m. breaks, I would take the elevator to stretch my legs. That's when I first saw him. A little boy, no more than 3 feet tall, always dressed in faded blue. His head was bowed, his tiny hands clutching at the hem of his shirt. He never spoke, never acknowledged me, but he was always there, stepping out on the 4th floor. "Good night," I would say each time out of politeness. He never responded. After a few encounters, unease began to settle in. The boy's presence was an anomaly in a building bustling only with adults. What was a child doing there at such ungodly hours? My curiosity got the better of me, and one night, I decided to ask the guards about him. Their reaction was not what I expected. One guard chuckled nervously and said, "Little boy blue, 4th floor, right?" I nodded, feeling a chill creep up my spine. "There's nothing on the 4th floor," he said, his tone dropping to a whisper. "It's been abandoned for years. No one's supposed to be there." His words echoed in my mind, each syllable sharpening the icy fear gripping my chest. The guards told me of their own experiences, of a boy giggling in the shadows, darting through empty hallways. They would chase after him, only for him to vanish into thin air. One even claimed to hear him whisper his name. After that conversation, I avoided the elevator during my breaks, but the building had other plans. On several occasions, the elevator would stop on the 4th floor without warning. The doors would slide open, revealing a corridor bathed in flickering fluorescent light. Once I thought I heard the faint, high-pitched giggle of a child. I didn't wait to confirm. To this day, I wonder who or what Little Boy Blue really is, and why he still waits on the 4th floor.
Hospitals are places of life and death, where miracles and tragedies coexist. But in the dead of night, when the halls are empty and shadows stretch unnaturally, they become something else entirely. I was a nurse working night shifts at one of Manila's oldest hospitals. The operating room complex, where I was assigned, was infamous for its hauntings. The right wing handled routine surgeries, while the left wing, where I worked, dealt with emergencies. Death lingered here, sudden and violent. One quiet night, I was assisting in a surgery that stretched past midnight. The air felt heavy, and the silence seemed unnatural. My colleagues and I decided to take a short break while waiting for the X-ray technician. As I sat down, exhaustion pulling at my eyelids, I felt it. A cold, clammy touch on my cheek. It was unmistakable, like a hand that didn't belong to the living. I jolted upright, scanning the room. My colleagues were either asleep or busy. No one was near me. I dismissed it as fatigue playing tricks on me, but then the chair beneath me shifted. It was a deliberate nudge, as though someone or something wanted my attention. The room grew colder, the sterile smell of the hospital replaced by a faint, sickly sweet odor. I stood, my legs trembling, and backed toward the door. That's when I heard it. A faint whisper, so soft I couldn't make out the words. It came from room 11, a room notorious among staff for its eerie activity. I tried to shake off the fear, but curiosity pulled me toward the door. Peeking inside, I saw nothing unusual at first. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a shadow that didn't belong. It lingered, unmoving in the corner of the room. My heart raced as I realized the shadow wasn't cast by any object or person in the room. I fled, leaving my colleagues to finish the surgery. I didn't care about the consequences. That night, I learned the stories were true. Room 11 was more than haunted. It was a gateway for those who had died violently, their restless souls refusing to move on.
Finally, our journey through the haunted corners of the Philippines comes to an end. Or does it? The stories you've heard tonight remind us that the veil between worlds is far thinner than we imagine. The Duwende, the Little Boy Blue, the restless spirits of the operating room. They are but whispers of a truth we may never fully understand. As you turn off the lights and lay your head to rest tonight, remember, the things that go bump in the night may be closer than you think. And when you feel that eerie chill run down your spine, don't dismiss it too quickly. You've just scratched the surface of the unknown, and it will be watching, waiting, perhaps closer than you'd like. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay curious, and most of all, stay brave. Like and subscribe for your peace of mind. This has been Warrior Horror. Sleep if you dare.